Ebusia memo kwa basronko kra de obeye PhD TV ebusia na ka cho say Ghana manyosoma etwegu eye hot political update na mde bedom wo channel eso sanso na sama wodo ya papa na bo Kennedy akompreko Ohene Agyapong ho de obunya ni na de fi channel we ya so intine no first time wabade ya mesere obomodin subscribe channel na fama me na share video we fama onua no nye bi hwe nte de ekoso e wo my Ghana say ediam je so Uncle Addo Ken Ebusia, our incoming president, His Excellency Kennedy Ohene Agyapong. Na opa de akompre kono asoso na de no edimu na nyam sha bem kase pa wade agye bemmo nsinso mansa na wanham na ana no ada ye ndure yarampo menka ne sa ne enkoye ni enna nde join news for every interview na between Kwasi Kwarteng kasa de ma yewura Kennedy Ohene Agyapong ene Miracles Aboagye ono so kasa de ma Dr. Laji Bawumia ene oseja komkuko piem e program yi eso a video Kwasi ebo modern kuko piem e wo joya Kwasi kasa ye hwe tese Miracles a ye hu Miracles ya hwe Miracles a hwe na ye hu no ko no mo wo hia fi na ko no mo afren enane memba program ya memba program Ain party no ye bedi ye party ye bedi ye party ye ni eyi fo bi eni asem ye bedi ye party ene eyi niema ye koso wa Ghana ne ho nkro na ba ye akwa ne boa so suro ena me ni obi anya debate ho anwan nya debate wo kwotena ho anwan akodwo enum akọ ka kanseme ni kwan so ka de afa Kennedy ho se ani ene ye mpa obi a candidate question mark e won ho na wo pe candidate question mark eda na ho na Kwasi Kwarteng se bra na be kirechire mu na me so menyima wo so me fata mu dwane na ade ba ko se Kwasi Kwarteng kasa Kwasi Kwarteng ni atem Kwasi Kwarteng do kan ne Kennedy o support no onka da candidate hu asem na mum san kofo we o ma mo so o me gangsters o mtora nkwase akeka no mo ka ede fa Kwasi Kwarteng na Kwasi Kwarteng ma mu hina showdown wandura if it's a miracle udwane.
Well, let me state that I have always maintained my stance and my composure that first I'm an MPP even before I aligned with any other candidate or any other hopeful. And so in as much as I may want to advance the cause of that hopeful or that candidate, I'm also mindful that I need to also keep my home and protect my home. But I wish to say that when you set standards for principles, we have to remind ourselves that they are not seasonal. And I'm not sure I have the capacity to determine your editorial policy. You also don't pick editorial policies just based on a vacuum.
Of course not.
And certainly it's based on commentaries around and comments that has been made by, even for the purpose of this conversation, politically exposed persons. Well, it's true that Miracle is right when he's indicated that it may not be time for campaign. But as a principal person, he should have said this when his boss, Dr. Bawumia, went to Takrade and tried to shift blame and suggest that there was a time where even 3 days to election, we increased fuel and it was meant as though it was designed for him to lose an election. So you cannot play the all-straight game and come on TV and pretend to be holier than thou and ask me to go into my constituency. Has he been in his constituency? When was the last time he visited his constituency? So I want to be measured on this, but I just want to say that even Kennedy Agyapong speaking did not speak out of a vacuum. He spoke in reaction to a certain history that has been put forth by Dr. Bawumia, his boss. And Kennedy's reaction was to give a proper context and a very factual account to the history, a leg of the history that has been buried, when Dr. Bawumia made a point that in MPP nobody has been made to go only once, but has been 2 or 3 occasions. You see,
was it not the elections they were talking about, or this was another ceremony that talking about?
During his thank you tour, he made such remarks, even to the extent that he had to, when he even went to London. Which
is what has warranted this conversation.
Nobody is speaking out of a vacuum. You see, what Miracle faced to understand that MPP is an intellectual party, is a party of intellectuals and synonymous with party of intellectuals, as soon as you put out something, it opens room for discussion, criticisms, and debate. When your boss suggests to party people, as though in the history of NPP, no presidential candidate has been made to go for primaries once, what does it do in an intellectual community? It opens room for discussion. So it is not out of place, and it is also not wrong when a candidate or any other person who has interest in also running for similar office also says that, well, as soon as you bring this debate, then there is also another leg of the debate where we may also have to let the party people also know that, well, in the case of Professor Ohene, he went once. And even those instances or those references that has been made by Dr. Bawumia, they were caveated on performance. I mean, I don't think this is so much of a big deal. And I'm surprised why he's making this as though we cannot criticize the NDC, and still advance the cause of the MPP. Primaries and selecting a candidate is not an event, it's a process. Certainly, when you go into an opposition, it requires rebuilding, it requires regrouping, it requires criticism, it requires taking responsibility. And of course, even to the extent that you also have to, this whole thank you to is also part of the process.
You mentioned the resetting agenda. Currently, what is with the resetting agenda?
I don't know. I don't speak for him. Maybe he may be able to explain it further. But the point I'm trying to make is that restructuring a party is not an event where you get up and only wait for an election calendar and say that, well, in January or March 2026, we are going for an election. It's process where you may have a thank you tour, where comments will be made. Those comments, I think they should be tolerant enough.
I mean, finally, before we just have a few minutes to wrap the show. Finally,
they make a point, they should be tolerant for interrogations and discussions.
NPP has tried Bawumia. Why do you think they should try a candidate they don't know, they have uncertainty for? If you're a business owner, would you take that decision?
I mean, it's a skewed question anyway. But if you're a business owner and you present a candidate and the outcome is that 2.1 million people, you see, again, context is very important,
right?
And you need to lay the foundation. In the case of former Vice President Dr. Bawumia, he has had the opportunity to even market himself for about 16 years, 8 years as a vice presidential candidate and 8 years as a vice president. He still went into an election and lost about 1.7 million votes. Interestingly, out of 276 constituencies, about 199 constituencies, we lost there. And if you as the candidate bring some of these conversations up, essentially making a case or advancing a case that you have to be given an opportunity to go again, I don't think you should dismiss it when people bring your own data, your own performance, and remind you that in the case of the NPP, conversations like this are pivoted on the performance of the candidate. So they can.
I'm certain there's more weeks and more months to discuss this a lot more on the Joy News channel. Of course, we'll be coming to you whenever there are more comments to spark a debate. Of course, and thank you for joining us today.
But I want to end. I want to end on this note.
The show has actually ended.
If indeed, Miracle's purported advice was genuine, I'm sure he saw the flyers earlier. And again, nobody. I
mean, of course. I mean, I want to state categorically that Miracles Aboagye was engaged prior to this, and of course, we cannot book you for you to walk in here.
Which TV station put somebody on the flyer without the person's consent?
So
which TV station?
I'm certain that people.
So he could have called me. He saw the flyer.
We broadcast to very discerning.
If the said advice was genuine, I'm sure he could have called me and given it to me.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Kwasi, for joining us.
Set standards and the same standards, you betrayed them.
Well, thank you for joining us today, and thank you as well for joining us and for.
Enti Kwasi Kwarteng the red man no what as here ai Kwasi nyansafo Kwasi a nyame ehira no Kwasi nyansafo Kwarteng me sa na me bo ne manani o Kwasi nyansafo Kwarteng what as here ai itasi ehira no adwene no a de ye debate no what as here obi anka se Miracles Aboagye onye Miracles is very very good communicator what as here very good communicator, that's the fact. But ye can say, system ten about this year ye idea. Kwasi Kwarteng edemfua. Kwasi odemfua. Omus run it in omus so Kwasi Kwarteng stay baby. Kwasi Kwarteng no mama ye na. He na udi we are na say Debbie. Kwasi won't do that. Kwasi will gently sit and give you facts. Now yem shisho. Now who the on your. That's Kwasi Kwarteng we know. The Juma no bonti. And a Ministry of Education fans say, but I beg Kasafamaye, Babe project here. Kwasi Kwarteng wura ha no wura ha no wura ha no wura ha no wura ha mu wi ma be kan kwa asem de a kire se Kwasi Kwarteng bobre bia. Ubusa fo makra